this video, I'm going to share a couple of ideas that you can incorporate into your practice to help you develop more interesting and memorable sounding melodies and solos on the guitar. My name is Andrew. Thanks for watching. Let's get into it. The two concepts that I used in the intro portion of this video that I'd like to discuss are using motifs and call and response in your playing. So what is a motif? A motif is a short musical phrase that basically is like a theme. It's a repetitive element that you can use to develop a melodic idea. Call and response is basically just what it sounds like. It's a call phrase and a phrase that responds to that call. A lot of times you'll hear call and response in blues or jazz, but it's really prevalent in just about every style of music because call and response has a very conversational quality to it, and that's what gives lyrics a memorable quality. Even if you think about the song Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana, da 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 da. That's using a motif and a call and response. That rhythm is functioning as the motif, da 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 da, and then you have a response phrase to that, da 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 da. So you have the call in the first phrase, you got a little space, then you have the response. And even if you don't know the words of that song, that melody is just so memorable and catches your ear because of the repetitive element of the rhythm. And that's the kind of thing that can really make your playing stand out, because a lot of players can fall into the habit of just playing a flurry of notes that don't really make sense. And so if you can develop a kind of a conversational element to your playing, it really allows the listener to grasp what you're saying through the instrument and allows your playing to be followed, as opposed to just hearing a flurry of notes that you can't really tell where it's going. So that's the concepts that I want to discuss in this video, and something that hopefully gives you some inspiration for your own practice and playing. So now I just want to break down that intro piece of music and show you how I created those motifs and those calls and response type phrases, and show you how you could incorporate that into your own practice. So in this song, we're in the key of C major, and the chord progression is just an F moving to a C. And it's really like an F major 7, because you hear that E in there moving to a C. And so in the first phrase, you have the motif, which is. And so with that phrase, it's really just a C major triad that in reverse. So the notes are G, E, and C. And I'm just adding that rhythmic element to it. As that C major arpeggio is happening, we're on the C chord, da 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 da, and then the E happens on the F chord, da. And so playing that E note over the F chord is really implying an F major 7. I'm really emphasizing that harmony. And so that's functioning as my call. And also that rhythmic element is functioning as the motif. So then we have the response, and that's going to happen as we go to the C major chord. So we start with that motivic phrase again. And then here's the response. It's slightly different. We're playing over the C chord. And so those notes are B, which is the 7 of the C chord, going to the 1 and then the 5. So I'm using a motif to create a phrase, and then I'm using that motif again to respond to that phrase with a slightly different variation. And so that gives the playing kind of a lyrical quality. I'm using chord tones from the chord itself to really imply and reinforce the harmony to the listener. So over that C, playing that B is really enforcing the sound of a C major 7 chord, and then ending on the 5. That's a strong ending if you're ending on a chord tone. Then we have the next call phrase, which is going to be leading us into that F chord again. So over the C, then you hear the A note, which is going to be the 13, or really just the 6th note of a C major scale. So that's an A against a C major, which is going to be the 13. And so then we're back to that E note over the F major 7. And then we have the response, which again is slightly different. And so again, on that C chord, I'm playing the B. I'm really emphasizing that major 7 sound. And the phrase is actually the same, but I end it different by sliding into that E, which is the 3rd of a C major chord, and then that G, which is the 5 of a C major chord. And so just that little bit of difference makes it sound like a more interesting phrase, and it gives it that response quality. By highlighting the chord tones, by using arpeggios or scalar notes, but really emphasizing those chord tones, you're going to tell the listener exactly what chord you're playing over. You're really implying that harmony in a strong way, and you're reinforcing that you know where you are in the scope of the tune. When you play in phrases like this, it really makes it easy for the listener to follow your playing, because that's how we speak. We speak in phrases. We don't just talk and then we never stop talking and then we just keep going. And then if we did that, that would sound really crazy, right? You speak in phrases, you have to breathe in between. Something that happens a lot of times for guitar players is that because we don't have to stop to take a breath when we play, like a horn player does, a lot of guitar players will just play and play and play and play and play, and they don't ever really play a phrase. And even though you may be playing 1,000 notes a minute, that doesn't really translate into something that's incredibly musical all the time, because you're just playing notes without really saying anything. Having the ability to play fast is great, but also having the ability to play meaningful musical phrases and to be able to take your listener on a journey and to show restraint sometimes by playing things that are maybe more repetitive but that develop a theme, that's another skill to develop and craft and just to have in your arsenal of things that you can play. So now, how can you incorporate this into your own practice? Well, you can develop motifs by coming up with an idea that you're going to build your melody or your solo around. So have some sort of idea that is repetitive, or something that you can use the rhythm of or the notes of, or whatever. You can be creative in your own way, but have something that you use as the building block for the information that's going to follow. And if you couple that with a call and response, then you could develop that motif and then have a response phrase using that same motif, but vary it slightly. And a good way to come up with things like this is if you have a backing track, or if you come up with a chord progression that you can loop, just start singing along. That's actually how I came up with this little piece of music to show for this example. I got something that just came to mind that was catchy and that was easy to remember, and that kind of is an earworm, so to speak. And that's really a good test for this whole thing. If you come up with something that's catchy or memorable to you, chances are it's probably going to be catchy or memorable to other people. And the goal would be work on this over time to where then if you're jamming along with friends or you're out on a gig playing and it comes time to take a solo, you could begin your solo with a motif. Instead of just blasting off into pentatonic wonderland like so many guitar players do, you could actually say a phrase, take your time and develop a solo that takes the listener on a journey. So I hope this helps you out, gives you some inspiration, some things to work on, some things to incorporate into your own playing. If so, definitely let me know. Please leave a comment, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you on the next video. Peace.